Hello friends, I am Sudhir. I welcome you all to my YouTube channel English Carnival, a journey of learning with joy. Friends, this channel is dedicated to English language, literature, criticism, academics, motivation and many more. Friends, in our today's video, we are going to explore the topic called literary criticism. We are going to explore its origin, different definition, the difference between critic and literary critic. We are also going to explore the different functions of criticism, qualities of critic and different forms of criticism. But before we proceed, I request you to subscribe the channel by just clicking on subscribe button and hitting the bell icon to get the notifications of uploaded videos in coming days. Friends, in our previous video, which was about literature and in which we studied what is literature, different types of literature, popular examples of literature, and the link of that video is in description box. Now today we are going to explore the interesting and bit complex topic, and that is literary criticism. Friends, we know literature is writing and it expresses or conveys feelings and attitudes towards life. In short, literature is the replica of life or society, state or nation. We find everything in literature that we find and experience in our day-to-day lives in society. Friends, literature helps us to mold and develop our perception of looking towards life. It is something which energizes or boosts us to live optimistic and enthusiastic life, but it could be in very and different way. In the same fashion, friends, every piece of literature can be varying. It is explored from a particular point of view, a stance or critical theory. So literature and the way different theories or different attitudes which deal with those literatures or piece of literature or pieces of literature deserve to be called literary criticism. And hence we are going to study all these things in today's video. Let's begin with the origin of this term called criticism. Friends, this term criticism, the word criticism got its origin in Greek, came into force from the word called kritikos in 4th century BC, which means able to make judgment or a judge of literature. And friends, this term appeared in English in 15th century as critic, which means criticism. Hence, we can put it in nutshell as the skill of or ability of making judgment or ability of commenting on a piece or pieces of literature. That means criticism, and hence it deserves to be called as the literary criticism. If it is so, then what is literary criticism? So literary criticism is nothing but the process of analyzing, evaluating, describing and interpreting literature or literatures or piece of literature or pieces of literature. In other way, friends, it can be defined as the process of interpreting the literature or a piece of literature that just I have told you with the help of a particular stream of thinking by highlighting its superior and inferior sides, which may develop a particular attitude among the readers about that particular literature or a piece of literature. And this is the beauty of criticism, rather literary criticism. Friends, from textual perspective, we can have one textual definition as well as far as literary criticism is concerned, and it can be explained or defined as the evaluative or interpretive work written by professional interpreters of texts. It is criticism not because it is negative or correlative, but rather because those who write criticism ask hard, analytical, crucial and critical questions about the works they read. We find this definition in glossary. On the other hand, Rand rightly says, he points out that literary criticism is judgment of books, reviewing and finally the definition of test or the tradition of what is classic. In the same fashion, W.H. Hudson says, in its strict sense, the word criticism means judgment. Criticism deals with poetry, drama, novel, even with criticism itself. So he says that criticism deals with criticism. So it is also there. Walter Pater says, criticism is the art of interpreting art. It means criticism is the art of interpreting art. So here art has been used as literature or a piece of literature or pieces of literature. It means the literary criticism is the way of interpreting and analyzing the literature or piece of literature from a particular point of view or a literary theory and concluding some significant elements which may be positive or negative or both regarding that particular piece or that particular analyzed, commented, explored piece of literature. Now, when we talk about the difference or think about who is critic and who is literary critic, then as far as critic is concerned, at surface level, we can state a critic is one who likes or dislikes a book, poem, movie, or else, like you and me. A critic evaluates, but it occurs on the basis of his personal interest or preferences. It doesn't happen with literary critic. As far as literary critic is concerned, literary critic remains impartial in his or her interpretation, and literary criticism is the process of interpreting literature and publishing the same on a comprehensive platforms. This document or this trade, rather we say, of criticism comes up with the concrete ground and supported typical theories that we are going to see at the end. Now, if we talk about on the basis of these differences, what are the qualities of critic or literary critic rather, then we can see as far as criticism is concerned, if I'm not wrong, to up to certain extent for some individuals it may seem inferior, secondary, or unusual kind of thing. It is stated that the creative artist is creative and subjective, whereas a critic is impersonal, dispassionate, and detached. Psychologically, the creative writers and critics connected with each other. It means there is no such difference between them, but still we have certain threads or qualities that are supposed to be in good critique. So he has to be impartial and unbiased towards the literature to be analyzed or criticized or commented. There should not be any kind of antipathy, fear, sympathy, or intuition about the writer. He or she must be impersonal and objective, not subjective. He must have the highly developed sense of tradition. So he should have that kind of sense of tradition. According to Scott James, here the true critic is an ally of the artist, whereas Alexander Pope rightly states in regard or with regard to this quote quoted by Scott James, Pope says, both must alike from heaven derive their light, these born to judge as well as those to write. The ideal critic possessed 5 attributes, and those 5 attributes are strong sense, united to delicate sentiment, improved by practice, perfected by comparison, and the last one, cleared of all prejudices. So he should be completely prejudice free or unbiased. Now, when we think about what are the functions of criticism or literary criticism, then at first we have judgment. Now see friends, literary critic should be expert, and he should use his expertise to examine the merits and demerits of a piece of literature. So this is the judgment, and the primary responsibility of the critic or any literary critic is to come with a proper judgment of a typical value. In this regard, I. Richards says, I quote, "To set up as a critic is to set up as a judge of values." So the word value makes sense for all of us, and he highlights it as I. Richard does. The second part we have, that is evaluation. Friends, T.G. Williams rightly says about the second part, that is evaluation, where it has been stated, I quote, "The function of a literary critic is the evaluation of what has been written in terms of aesthetic principles appropriate to literature." And the last and third, and that is interpretation. So here the prime function of criticism is to enlighten and stimulate by the proper interpretation of the works of literature. So there should be proper interpretation. It should not be in vague manner. It should not be in partial manner. And in this regard, we can say that if judgment has to be the valid conclusion of criticism, then interpretation has to be considered, or it should be considered as means to the found conclusion or gained conclusion, or whatever we have achieved conclusion. Now after this, friends, we are also going to see in a swift manner different forms or types of criticism. Friends, as certain types of forms of criticism have been given in different glossaries of literary terms, and Chris Baldic's glossary is there, then M.H. Abrams' glossary of literary terms is there. So according to them, there are some forms of criticism, and those are, at first we have theoretical criticism, then we have applied or practical criticism, then we have ontological or textual criticism, then we have impressionistic criticism, then we have judicial criticism, then we have thematic criticism, then pragmatic criticism. The seventh type we have, the eighth, the next one we have expressive criticism, the next ninth one we have objective criticism. After that we have sociological criticism. See, now if we have to explore some critical theories which have come into force in late 19th or 20th century, then we are supposed to talk about those theories, and we are supposed to highlight those theories as well as the forms or types of criticism. As archetypal criticism we have, then psychoanalytic criticism or psychoanalytical theory we have, then feminist criticism we have, lesbian or gay criticism we have, then we have Marxist criticism, we have post-colonial criticism, we have eco-criticism, then we have structural criticism, the second part of structural, that is post-structuralism or deconstruction we have. So all these things are there, and in our coming videos we are going to deal with all these things. But friends, I think, if I'm not wrong, as far as our today's video or today's presentation is concerned, I hope you have understood what exactly the criticism or literary criticism means, what about its origin, or what are the different meanings or definitions of this literary criticism, what are the differences between critic and literary critic, what are the qualities or good qualities of literary critics, and what are the different forms of criticism and function of literary criticism. Friends, if you have liked this video, then I request you to like it, share it among your friends, near and dear ones as well. I also request you, if you have not subscribed the channel yet, kindly subscribe the channel so that you may get the notifications of uploaded videos in coming days, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Friends, today's presentation, this is enough for today's one. Very soon we'll meet again with different content and different ideas and different concepts. So friends, till then, just take care of yourself and be happy. Thank you.